Alright, so I'm finally going to watch Iron Fist, Season 1. And yeah, this show has barely come out and there's already a lot of bad buzz circling it, but regardless, let's just get to it. Is this show as bad as everyone says it is? Well, let's find out. To start things off, let's just get this out of the way first, because many are already concerned about it. The story and pacing. So, I don't want to spoil anything, so I will be vague. But the first 4 episodes of this series are pretty uneventful. Imagine the beginning scenes of Batman Begins, but stretched out to 4 hours. It deals with more emotion than action, and really trudges along to establish the characters, motives, and overall setting. Granted though, once stuff starts to pick up and the real story arc goes into full swing, the characters are so well established that the story focuses more on the events rather than the emotional standpoint. Yes, the pacing suffers because of this, but getting through the bad leads to the good. But sadly, in some instances, it feels like a soap opera with fight scenes trickled in between, so your results may vary. As a show to binge watch, it works, from start to finish. But if you're going to be watching, a single episode every here and there, it really doesn't... It leaves you wanting more out of the show in a bad way. But regardless, the plot is good. Just gonna lay it out there, the plot is good. The only issue that I really found with it is that it doesn't really start picking up speed until the last third of the show. But regardless of what people are saying all over the internet, it is a good addition to the Marvel lineup. Now let's move on to the writing. The dialogue is good, but what is of note here are the written characters. In some cases they feel over-exaggerated, but they overall work well. Mainly I want to talk about the main character, Danny Rand, aka the Iron Fist. He is a very naive character that carries a sort of innocence with him. It works well for a character who's returning home after 15 years. His constant need to trust and understand why are some of his greatest faults, and it feels real. A lot of what goes wrong is because of this, and while it may feel annoying that Danny doesn't realize his mistakes until it's too late, it works well in the grand scheme of things, and the villains really exploit this quite nicely. The other characters are also fantastic. The whole Meacham family are a great cast of uncertain characters. What I mean by that is that you don't know exactly what their true intentions are. The other main side characters, Colleen Wing, and the Marvel Netflix series regular, Claire, are also a great addition to the story. Overall, the casting is really well done, and each actor really brings their A game. Next up, let's talk about the production quality. And everything here is pretty solid. The cinematography is really good. It doesn't really, wow me like, the past shows like, Daredevil had some really good cinematography. This one's just, solid. The music is very hit or miss with me. The overall orchestra, the background music, is really well done. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like the Twin Peaks soundtrack. But overall, the official licensed songs they use in this show, I really didn't like, except for the very first one, and once you watch the show, you'll know what song it is. But the rest of the songs they actually use are not that great, or at least just not to my taste. But besides that, the editing is also serviceable. But regardless, the most important thing that I want to touch on here is the stunts. And the fighting here is surprisingly very well choreographed. In fact, a little too well to the point that the fighting really feels fake and staged. Weirdly enough, the floatiness of the fight scenes work with Danny himself. Not so much for everyone else. Danny moves with finesse and uses his opponent's own weights against them, which works with his chi abilities. With everyone else, the fighting feels far too slow and safe. Nearly every fight scene had a moment where it took me out of it, except for a select few. None of them had the raw feeling from the 3 previous Netflix Marvel shows. Now, it may be just me because I do have a background in martial arts. Maybe to the untrained eye it looks impressive, but for me I just couldn't stop judging it. Things were just moving too slow, or it was completely telegraphed. Everything was just completely telegraphed, and I just couldn't stop seeing it. But yeah, regardless, all in all, it's a solid show and a good watch. And I really don't understand why people are saying that they hate the show. Yes, it is by far the weakest of the whole Defenders lineup, but it's still a good show. But yeah, regardless, would I recommend the show? If you're a fan of the comics, or at least a fan of the past Marvel Netflix shows, curiosity is going to get the better of you, and you're going to definitely want to watch this thing. But if you're a person who's just, on, a Netflix binge and you want to watch a brand new show, I would definitely recommend watching the other Netflix shows, the other Marvel shows prior to this one. But yeah, it's still a good show, but it's not great. That's the main thing. As I mentioned before, it is hands down the weakest of the whole Defenders lineup. But I don't know. People saying that it's a bad show are completely off base. It's a good show. but it's definitely not a great show. So I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. But regardless, if you're interested, definitely give it a watch. If you're just curious, maybe wait for more reviews, or just give it a try. That's the main thing, is just watch an episode and give it a try. Granted, though, the first episodes are gonna probably bore you to death, but regardless, it's still it's worth it in the end. That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, it tries to be the younger brother of Daredevil, but it falls short in many aspects. Regardless, if you do decide to watch it, you must go in knowing that this is an origin story. I know that many people hate that, but it's a new hero, so the formula will feel old. But remember, in order to establish Iron Fist, they gotta do it. Well, that's the video. And yeah, it's a good show. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's pretty much what I'm saying here. It's decent. I liked it. It's a solid show, and if you're a fan of the past ones, you're definitely going to, see it as a good addition. If I were to rank them, Daredevil's number 1, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are probably neck and neck. But yeah, the worst one is definitely Iron Fist. Not a bad show, but it's definitely the weakest of the whole group. So yeah, give it a watch. I liked it. But yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later.